2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? This is the first episode of the RnL show. So we're just going to be covering a wide variety of sports topics, and with no sports going on right now due to the virus, NFL draft has the biggest storyline. So we're going to break down every pick from the first round of the NFL draft, and then talk about our personal favorite teams. Robbie's being the Rams, and mine being the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right.
So with that being said, I guess we get into the first pick. Robbie, take it.
Obviously, first pick, we got the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, quarterback LSU. I think everyone saw this coming, right? No surprises.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was the consensus #1 overall pick. There was slight rumors draft day that the Dolphins would attempt to trade up to the first overall pick, but that unfortunately did not turn out. And Joe Burrow probably had the greatest college quarterback season ever, throwing over 60 touchdowns and leading LSU to a national championship, and him personally winning a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, we just have to hope he doesn't pull a Jamarcus Russell coming out of LSU, right?
That would be unfortunate, but Joe Burrow has a lot of upside, a very accurate passer, sees the if the Bengals and Zach Taylor can figure some things out, I think they could be looking pretty good. So
all right, let's hop into the second pick. Chase Young out of Ohio State.
Chase Young, you grew up watching.
So Chase Young is a dynamic pass rusher and the best overall talent in the draft. The Redskins didn't need a quarterback. They want to see what they have in Dwayne Haskins. And Chase Young, as I said earlier, is just the best overall player in the draft, just a dominant pass rusher, great in the run game, just manhandles offensive tackles, and clearly the best pick for the Redskins in this position.
Yeah, I think Chase Young will be a force to be reckoned with. He's probably his entire career. And I think Dwayne Haskins can definitely be that guy. What do you think?
I think towards the end of the season, he started showing improvements, and the Redskins haven't really had a consistent running game. I know Darius Geis has been in and out of injuries, and I don't know how much Adrian Peterson is capable of doing. But maybe once Darius Geis is healthy and they have a great young receiver in Terry McLaurin, that he's just going to keep developing and growing that relationship from Ohio State with Dwayne Haskins. So it can only get better for them.
All right, let's hop into the third pick. One of my personal favorites, Jeff Okudah.
So,
hey, Mom and Dad, I know I'm just a kid.
Taking a cornerback this high in the draft, and I think he still would have been there if they traded down a little bit, maybe with another team. But Jeff Okudah is the best DB in this draft. He is excellent in man and zone coverage, reads the quarterback very well, and did not commit a single holding or pass interference penalty all of last year. So, a great player. I think Isaiah Simmons was in play here, but the Lions did sign Kyle Van Noy and a few other pieces defensively in the draft, and by losing Darius Slay, I think this was the clear-cut choice.
Yeah, and with no holding or no pass interference calls in college, that's a big deal, because in the NFL, those holding pass interference calls could be the decision maker for the game. You know,
game killers.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then here with the Giants, there was a little controversy. Some people thought Isaiah Simmons was going here, but personally, I thought it was going to be Tristan Wirfs. But here we have Andrew Thomas, Georgia.
I definitely expected the Giants to go offensive tackle. They need to protect Daniel Jones, who got roughed up a lot last year, had some fumbling issues with
and let Saquon run too.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley is one of the most physically gifted players and talents in the league, and you got to keep him. Got to give him some good blocks to maneuver with. So, the Giants needed tackle. I don't know if this was the correct tackle to take, but all in all, he's a physical freak of nature, and he should definitely be a good blindside protector for Danny Dimes in years to come.
And I mean, Dave Gettleman, we all confused with him last year, but he proved that Daniel Jones was a competent pick in the number 4. Was it number 4 spot? That last year too, or was it number
4 or 5? I'm not sure.
It was something like that.
But Daniel Jones, I think, definitely has an argument that he performed a lot better than Dwayne Haskins last year. I don't think anyone can debate that. So
he's probably the second best rookie quarterback behind Kyler Murray.
After Kyler Murray, of course.
And then also Drew Lock's competing there, but Drew Lock didn't play nearly as many games. So, all right, number 5, Tua Tagovailoa.
So I think there was some concerns with Tua's injury history. But all in all, Tua's probably the greatest passer we've seen in a while coming out of college. He is just so accurate, and people could say his his success was due to having Nick Saban as a coach, but Nick Saban can't coach that type of arm talent. And as long as Tua stays healthy, it seems like the doctors have medically cleared him. So as long as he can stay healthy, I think the Dolphins have a good thing growing with Brian Flores, and they definitely seem to know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it was either an argument if they'd take Herbert here, but I'm pretty sure most people thought Tua Tagovailoa was going number
Speaking
5.
of Justin Herbert, the Los Angeles Chargers selected him with the 6th overall pick. The very next pick,
There was
Justin Herbert is a great quarterback coming out of Oregon, just 6'6", just a big guy who has a good arm, and I think he can be successful with the right coaching.
Yeah, the only difference between him and Tua probably is Tua's a little more athletic, and Justin Herbert's
much smaller.
Yeah, a lot taller. Justin Herbert
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, he's a good replacement for Philip Rivers. Honestly, he has almost the same dimensions. Maybe like
I don't expect him to start at the very beginning of the year with the possibility of there being no OTAs and limited training camp.
Mhm.
So I think Tyrod will take the reign for the first couple games, and then we can definitely see Herbert coming in. They have a great defense and a great running back in Austin Eckler, and they signed Brian DeLaga in free agency, so their offensive line is just growing. And they also traded for Pro Bowl guard Trey Turner. So
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot. Shoot, what was I gonna say? It was like, oh, Tyrod Taylor led the Bills to the playoffs one year. So I mean, don't count Tyrod Taylor out
Yeah.
either for the starting job.
This was definitely the right choice, as Tyrod Taylor, I don't think, should be the future for any professional football team at this point.
Most definitely. All right, and then here are the 7th pick, Derek Brown, with a little bit of controversy.
So this one confused me a little bit due to the fact that All-Pro, Pro Bowl linebacker
Luke Kuechly.
probably of the decade, Luke Kuechly. I mean, you could debate with Bobby Wagner, but Luke Kuechly was a phenomenal guy in the middle, and Isaiah Simmons was definitely an option here, but Matt Rule and that new coaching staff decided to go with Derek Brown, and we'll see how that plays out. He's a really strong guy, can disrupt the run game and create some interior pressure for the quarterback, so that'll definitely be interesting to see what plays out with him.
Reminds me kind of like Snacks Harrison, a little bit, just a little bit. Just
Yeah,
I was watching some tape on him.
A little bit more athletic though.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like Quinnen Williams.
Yeah.
All right, and then here we go. This is probably one of the most. This is probably one of the most steals of the draft, right? The biggest steals.
Yeah.
You think?
The fact that a guy like Isaiah Simmons, and we know the numbers, he played at least 50 snaps at outside corner, safety, box linebacker, edge
slot
rusher.
corner.
It's insane how versatile this guy is. Being 6'4" and running a 4.39 40, he just zooms around the field. And he had a quote where he said, "If NFL rosters are only limited to 53 people, I count as 3. We have a 56-man roster," and I don't believe he is wrong with saying that.
No, yeah, he can definitely play anywhere they put him. Pat B goes down, put him out there.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the Cardinals. I think there was some talk about them taking a tackle because Kyler Murray was sacked over 50 times last year. But you cannot. Tackles are a lot easier to find than a guy like Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, Isaiah Simmons is someone you cannot pass up. And then here we have C.J. Henderson. Probably, I mean, obviously the second best corner in the draft, right?
Sure.
Yeah. He's pretty polished, you know. I think out of Florida, he could be a solid option for the Jaguars after they lose A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I think he faced some good talent down there in the SEC, and the Jaguars, I don't think are going to succeed anytime soon, but they do need some cornerstones to build around. I know there's been a lot of talk with not Young. What's that dude's name? A lot of trade rumors surrounding one of the Jaguars linemen. It's leaving my mind right now. You know,
D lineman or O lineman?
D lineman.
Yannick Ngakoue? Ngakoue?
Oh.
No? Hey,
Actually, I believe it's Yannick Ngakoue. He had some weird tweets with Khan's son, the owner of the Jaguars, and so I don't know. There's a lot of turmoil going on in Jacksonville right now. Ever since they played in the AFC Championship against the Patriots, but who knows? Good old Gardner Minshew and that mustache down there. See what happens.
All right, here we go with another tackle taken before Tristan Wirfs, Jedrick Willis.
Now, being a fan of the Steelers, watched a lot of Browns football. And as talented as their roster is, their biggest weakness was tackle, and I think they got two amazing tackles. Dredge Willis is a phenomenal blindside protector, and they also signed Jack Conklin from the Tennessee Titans, who anchored the ship of Derrick Henry leading the league in rushing yards. So I don't think from a roster perspective the Browns have any more excuses, and it's strictly coaching.
Yep.
Because I think the Browns have the best roster in football.
Yeah,
Aside from Baker, I mean, aside from Baker, I think they have the best roster in football.
And honestly, Baker has shown he can play pretty well. I mean, last
Yeah,
season, down year, but I mean, in his rookie year, he performed well.
Now, Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator of the Vikings and the current head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I think the way he innovated with Dalvin Cook with the running scheme, and I think Nick Chubb's a phenomenally talented guy at running back. I think there's a lot of potential for the Browns to give the Ravens and Steelers some problems.
As well as Kareem Hunt in the backfield, too. I mean, it's scary.
He signed a second-round tender. I mean, as long as he keeps his head on straight and does not kick any females, I think that he should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame Baker because he's gone through more coaching changes than most guys have, like, in his short career. So.
Yeah, three coaches in 3 seasons. It's not.
Yeah, not even like 3 full seasons.
2 seasons. 2 seasons.
All right, and then here we have another tackle taken before Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton.
Now, Mekhi Becton had a phenomenal combine performance. Ran, I think, the fastest 40 times for a guy even close to his weight ever. The Jets needed offensive linemen to protect Sam Darnold. I think once Sam Darnold came back from mononucleosis, he performed very well. Now, I could have thought the Jets went receiver here with how, but then due to the loss of Robbie Anderson. But I think with how deep this receiver class is, and then actually taking one in the second round of the draft, a guy like Mekhi Becton was a really good fit for them.
Yeah, I thought either O-lineman or Jerry Jeudy here, but you know, Sam Darnold. I mean, you can't get mono twice, so he performed well after it, and I think he could be a top 10 quarterback next year. Honestly,
really close to us. San Clemente alumni, went to USC, local dude. So that brings us to our next pick, which was a little surprising for us. But when you think about it, a guy like Henry Ruggs and his breakaway speed makes sense for the Raiders. John Gruden runs that West Coast offense. He likes to innovate with different types of speed guys. And hopefully if Henry Ruggs becomes more polished as a route runner, he can fill that void of what Antonio Brown was going to be for the Raiders. Now, it'll be interesting to see who ends up playing quarterback for the Raiders, as they did bring in Marcus Mariota to compete with Derek Carr. So
and honestly,
that'll be interesting.
I think they could be trying to gun for the West Coast offense, because if Marcus Mariota wins the battle, I see a lot of play action coming in with Josh Jacobs, Henry Ruggs running a little post corners.
I think, and don't forget about Darren Waller, who's a very good tight end, amazing vertical threat, and does a lot of good things after the catch.
And Tyrell Williams, also a receiver, he's pretty good.
One thing, Hunter Renfrow also got hurt last year, so
Henry
he'll come
Ruggs,
back.
I don't know. I feel like he's gonna be kind of like a Brandon Cooks kind of guy. Just goes over the top all game, stretches the field. But I still don't think he's the best receiver in this draft class. Not even the best receiver at Alabama, honestly.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But with the next pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took Tristan Wirfs, and I think this was just an obvious pick to go opposite of DeMar Dotson. Of course, they just signed the debatable GOAT, Tom Brady. And they one thing he didn't have in New England was skill positions and a good offensive line. And I think the Buccaneers are starting to provide that. You know, Ryan Jensen and Tristan Wirfs on that left side is definitely, or Ali Marpet, on the left side is going to give him a good fit. And then obviously with the return of Rob Gronkowski to pair with Cameron Brate and OJ Howard. And you can't forget about 2 top 10 receivers on that team with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think the Buccaneers are going to get the most possible out of these 2 years with Tom Brady.
Yeah, and Tristan Wirfs also a really big steal in this draft, as people thought he was going to go number 4. So the fact that he fell down to 13, it's a big deal.
I mean, all 3 tackles taken in this area
4 actually.
Are phenomenal talents. Oh, 4, my bad. All 4 are phenomenal talents, but the order of which can be questioned.
Yes, and obviously we'll see next year, but here we go with the 49ers. Debatable, I thought. I mean, they'd lost to Forrest
trade
Buckner.
up 1 spot, or trade down 1 spot with the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Honestly, they lost to Forrest Buckner, so I like this pick. But I also thought Jerry Judy might have been a pick here, but it's debatable because they have Debo Samuel. So
with the 49ers taking Javon Kinlaw, I believe I saw some things on Twitter, and there's some question about why trade an All-Pro D tackle for to receive a first-round pick just to draft a younger D tackle. And I think it's just money in general.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of guys in that team that hold heavy contracts. And don't forget, it seems like it just happened, but in a few minutes, or in a few years, Nick Bosa is going to need that big extension, and Joey Bosa only has a few years left with the Chargers, so maybe he wants to go up there and join his brother, kind of like how Derek Watt did with TJ. So
yeah.
you never know, but I think Javon Kinlaw is a great talent, has a great story, and I hope nothing but the best for him.
And here we go. The Niners still have that all first round D line, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right, and then Denver Broncos, Jerry Judy.
Now, Jerry Judy, I think, was perceived as probably the best receiver in the draft. Just a phenomenal route runner, great after the catch. Just does a little bit of everything well. I think the Broncos getting this pick was a great idea. I think giving Drew Lock some weapons to go with Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton.
Oh my!
And don't forget they picked up Melvin Gordon. They still have Philip Lindsay down there.
Philip Lindsay's a dog.
So if they can figure out just a few positions, and I think they're a really well-coached team, I think they could be successful.
Huge steal as well. You also gotta love his necklace or his chain, huh, Lucas?
Oh yeah.
You ever seen it?
very lavish chain, I might say.
All right, here we go. A lot of Falcons fans are actually disappointed with this pick, but honestly,
this
I
pick
think
makes
it's
sense
good.
to me.
Yeah, go
he
ahead.
played excellent talent in the ACC. AJ Terrell did.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, Desmond Trufant was cut and did end up signing with the Detroit Lions. So that cornerback spot needed to be filled. So hopefully he can be the next Deion Sanders. I know he doesn't play baseball and isn't as flashy as Deion, but who knows? He may play well on the field. He's a great man corner and evaluates the field and reads the quarterback's eyes very well.
Yeah, and I follow a lot of the Falcons stuff on Instagram because my man Todd Gurley, he joined that team.
Yes,
so
I do.
I was looking at a lot of them in there. They're all talking about how he didn't perform in the championship game, but you got to think about the year before. How he got a pick against Tua, pick 6, and he led that defense pretty much to.
And Clemson was one of the top defenses in the league by no small part of AJ Terrell and Isaiah Simmons, who was previously taken by the Arizona Cardinals. So this pick, I had a suspicion that the Cowboys were going to trade down and for the best safety, Xavier McKinney. But it's hard to pass on a guy like CeeDee Lamb to pair with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Just giving Dak more weapons, and I think he's a phenomenal receiver.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with this pick. I mean, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on opposite sides of each other.
Yeah, and I believe Mike McCarthy did a pretty good job helping contributing to develop Devontae Adams, and maybe he can do the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, Devontae Adams being a superstar wide receiver in the NFL.
I mean, I think we all know the Cowboys will probably go 8-8 again. Oh, sorry, I mean 8-1.
Probably underperform.
8-1 I mean,
it's just some Jerry Jones type things to do, But maybe good old Mike McCarthy can hack something out for him.
Yeah, and then
good old man.
Here we go with another tackle flying off the board. I think this is the 5th tackle. Austin Jackson.
Now I have had the pleasure of watching watching Austin Jackson extensively due to the fact that I'm a UFC fan and watched a good portion of their games. I think he's a very capable tackle, has a great story donating that blood clot to his sister. Very dedicated, very loyal family man, and maybe you can treat his quarterback that same way.
Yeah, his new quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa.
Most definitely.
Here we go with the Las Vegas Raiders with Damon Arnett. Another corner flying off the board.
I wasn't really expecting this pick, to be totally honest, but I don't think it's a bad pick. Can't go wrong with a guy like Damon Arnett. Played very well at Ohio State, and can't wait to see what he does with the Raiders and their scheme.
Yeah, and I don't know too much about him, but he seems solid. I was watching some of his tape when he got drafted. He seems solid.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is pretty much, this could have been LA's pick, the Rams, but we traded him for Jalen Ramsey. So here we got, I don't know how to say that. How do you say his first name, Lucas?
Clavon Chase and
All right,
Cassie.
it's easy then.
We'll just go with Clavon.
Yeah.
Probably the second best pass rusher in this draft after Chase Young, obviously.
Yeah.
Very capable, very good finessing his way by tackles, and very powerful yet deceptively quick. And I think he has the capability to succeed.
Yeah, same. All right, and then next pick, Jalen Rieger, Philadelphia Eagles, which is I mean, a lot of people were surprised he or no, I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, it's like it's a toss up between Justin Jefferson and him, huh? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Eagles went with Jalen Rieger for the main factor of his vertical threat. He ran a very quick combine. I think he ran something in the 4.3s, I believe. He played very well in college. He was a burner at TCU, but then again, think about Big 12 talent and really evaluate that to somebody like Justin Jefferson, who played in the SEC against much greater talent.
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong with these vertical guys. Maybe trying to fill the void of what Deshaun Jackson was supposed to be, of what good old Nelson Aguilar was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But capable, and we'll see what will happen with them.
Yeah, it's really hard to, evaluate like a receiver because a lot of top receivers came in the later rounds. So
yeah. And then just to our next pick in the Minnesota Vikings with their pick, they took Justin Jefferson. They received this pick from the Buffalo Bills. This was an obvious choice that they needed a receiver with the departure of Pro Bowler Stephon Diggs. Well, there was some turmoil with him there and Kirk Cousins, but
yeah,
Justin Jefferson is a great big body receiver. I believe he's like 6'2", 6'3", and he's a great red zone threat and just an overall polished route runner and something a lot of teams would be hopeful for.
Yeah. So this is pretty much. I mean, there's like one other pick involved, or maybe one other two, but this is pretty much straight up just Justin Jefferson for Stephon Diggs, and
yeah, and Justin Jefferson is obviously younger, less contract, and has not had any controversy or issues from what we've seen.
Yeah.
And he did have Joe Burrow delivering those luscious balls to him, so
goes to Kirk Cousins.
We'll
Hope
see
he likes it.
What Kirk C can do on another 2-year deal extension he just signed.
Yeah, honestly, this next pick, 23, I love this pick, Kenneth Murray of Oklahoma.
The Chargers had I think you could say a weak inside linebacker position last year.
Oh yeah.
I think Denzel Perriman. I mean, he was capable.
He's capable, but
he's in the end part of his career, and he was more so of a tackler and run support. But Kenneth Murray's a guy that can get all the way around the field. He reminds me of Deion Jones, the way he's versatile in pass coverage and run coverage.
Yep.
And I think this was a great choice for the Chargers.
Hey, the boy can play. That's all I can say.
As Stephen A. Smith would say, he can ball. He can ball.
That is undisputed.
Yes, sir.
All right, the first center off the board goes to the Saints.
The first interior lineman, center or
guard. Cesar Ruiz.
From Michigan. I remember watching him against the Michigan MSU game, and he was just holding up anybody that came near him. Just a big guy in general, and a great dude to anchor that Saints offensive line and Drew Brees. Now, there's a little discussion of the Saints possibly taking Jordan Love, but I think they truly believe that after Drew Brees, Taysom Hill can provide a future for them.
Yeah.
That's speculation, and when Drew is done with his 2 years, $50 million contract, and he hangs the cleats to a phenomenal career, I think anything can happen.
Yeah, Cesar Ruiz definitely solid for the Saints O-line, which wasn't the best last year.
Saints building up that O-line, Andres Pete, Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk, just Larry Warford, just an overall good line.
Yep. All right, San Francisco 49ers. I like this pick a lot because they didn't reach earlier when they could have drafted, one of the more polished receivers like Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs, right? But I think this draft class is so stacked with receivers that you don't need to draft a receiver that high.
Receiver tackle, and Kyle Shanahan's ways of incorporating talent into his offense I think he can be the best pure receiver on that team. While Debo's Samuel's used more of that kind of gadget guy that can make plays down the field. But Brandon Ayuk's more of an all-around solid receiver, kind of like how Emmanuel Sanders was for them.
And then this next pick,
now, this ruffled some feathers, I say.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, with the national media. And personally, I think Jordan Love is a phenomenal talent. Obviously, by going to where do you go? Washington.
Utah State.
Utah State. There's not much talent there, and I know there's some concerns about his decision making, but you can't teach arm talent, and decision making comes with better coaching and better talent. And he doesn't try to go out of his way to make plays. And I don't want anybody hating on the man. He did not choose to be drafted by Green Bay. And who knows? I mean, there's that same discussion with what happened with Brett Favre.
Brett Favre, yep.
I also compare that the year they drafted Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre was already mulling on retirement and was declining. Aaron Rodgers, after leading the Packers to a 13-3 season, I don't think you can put him in the conversation of him declining. And he still has 4 years left on that deal, so to see what happens with Jordan Love. I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, this pick, definitely, there's like two sides of it for me. Like, I like the pick because I see what they're trying to do, same thing that Aaron Rodgers did. But I mean, you guys just went 13-3. Why not try to pick up, a nice receiver? But or like some skill position talent.
On the Pat McAfee show last night, an hour before the Packers selected Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, friend of the show, was on there, and he said, I think the quote was, "We haven't drafted a skill position. In the last 15 years. That'd be cool."
Yeah, I mean Jordan Love is a skill position, but
he also said that whoever they drafted, he would give them a phone call really quick, and I wonder if it's the same for Jordan Love, because I'm sure Aaron Rodgers will have disagreement with the pick.
Yeah. All right.
Because they have Devontae Adams, their receiving core is rather lackluster in my opinion.
And then Seattle Seahawks going to Jordan Brooks at number 27.
This pick, it didn't make sense for me. Oh, their O-line has been bad for a while.
Yeah.
Brooks is an inside linebacker, which doesn't make the most sense to me due to the fact that I believe Bobby Wagner still has 3 or 4 years of playing at an elite level. But maybe they have other plans for him. I'm not very familiar with him as a whole, but I know he's a great talent. But if they were going for pure inside linebacker, I think the guy that was taken with the next selection.
Yeah, Patrick Queen. Yeah.
So yeah, by being a Steeler fan, I've watched the Ravens were dominant last year, but their one weakness was definitely inside linebacker. LJ Fort was their main guy.
Yeah.
And, he was a former Steeler. He's a great tackler, but he's not what you need for a championship defense. And maybe they're still trying to fill that void of C.J. Mosley.
Yes, sure.
Patrick Queen can just be a dominant force in the middle, like he was with Louisiana State University.
I think Patrick Queen is definitely that dude, but we'll see.
Gets around the field pretty well. So this next pick from the Tennessee Titans,
another tackle.
By losing Jack Conklin in free agency, and you still got to protect Ryan Tannehill and obviously anchor that run game with just a mammoth of a runner in Derrick Henry. This seems like an obvious pick, the best tackle available at that point. So no brainer for me there.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with this pick. And then here we go with the Dolphins is this their third first round pick?
Yes.
Another cornerback. Can't even say his name.
We're just going to call him Noah.
Yeah.
Now, the Dolphins did make a massive splash in free agency, signing
former
Cowboy standout Byron Jones to a 5-year, $100 million contract. But you need depth at that corner position. And a good young guy like him from Auburn who played against great SEC receivers, has some experience, and gets down the field really well with lateral quickness. So we'll see what goes on from here, but I think he can definitely be a good part of that defense they're building, which they made a lot of free agency signings with in the past.
The 4 positions this draft is definitely deep in is tackle, quarterback, wide receiver, and corner. And it's going to be hard. Speaking of corner, Jeff Gladney. Next pick to the Vikings.
Jeff Gladney, the second TCU player taken in the draft.
This is a little
He'll
awkward.
be the Vikings have a void to fill with the loss of Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, and Mackenzie Alexander. So they're pretty thin at cornerback depth as a whole. So this is a great guy who can come in and contribute to that Mike Zimmer defense. Mike Zimmer is a defensive-minded coach, and with Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris still back there and that phenomenal D-line and linebacking core, there's cornerbacks the really only glaring weakness defensively.
Yeah. Where's Xavier Rhodes now? Remind me.
Xavier Rhodes signed a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, the
Yeah.
Colts are kind of nice at the corner position now. What do you think about it?
One could say. So
All right.
with the 32nd and final pick of the draft, the Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was just a bowling ball, I guess you could say, in college. You know,
Yeah.
he's undersized, but his legs just don't stop. And I remember watching that LSU-Alabama game, and at the very end, when the LSU was trying to ice the game, he would just maul and churn for yards, and those legs would keep going.
And you can't forget he was hurt in that game too. He was partially hurt. I don't know. Like, this pick is good, but I think if they give Damian Williams his carries, he can be that guy. But that's just my opinion.
Thematically, Edwards-Helaire isn't the best receiving running back available. And I think a guy like Jonathan Taylor could have been better for them just because of his pure speed, and that's a lot of the Chiefs' mindset offensively is just speed, speed, speed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can't go wrong with a guy like this. He's a nice switch up from Damian Williams. He's more of like a hesitation burner runner.
Yeah.
And Edwards-Helaire provides more of that power back that they hope LaShawn McCoy could be, but LaShawn is unfortunately prime.
I mean, there'll be a insane two-headed dragon, I think. Especially, look, Edwards-Helaire does look kind of like Mark Ingram, though.
A little bit with that bowling ball mentality, but that recaps the entire first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. Obviously, the circumstances were different. I think we have to give big thanks to just the entire NFL production as a whole with providing this. And I know the man gets a lot of pay, but Roger Goodell did an amazing job with this draft from his basement.
Yeah.
And again, we got to thank the production team. I think everyone needed this. It did record-shattering numbers, the most numbers a draft has ever done. So.
Yeah, and I think it was set up very well.
There was a few things that transpired that we were, there were a few headlines. I think obviously the biggest one was with Jordan Love being selected, but overall, I think it was a great draft. And lastly, in the last few minutes of this podcast, we're going to address our own teams who both actually did not have a first-round pick. We'll start with my team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We ended up trading after week 2 of the prior season. We ended up trading our first-round selection to the Miami Dolphins for safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I am sure to say Minkah Fitzpatrick is better than any player we could have taken in this draft at 18. So,
oh, yeah, most definitely.
All-Pro, second in the league in interceptions. And I think the most shattering stat to me is in the final 8 games of the season, he was only targeted twice. So quarterbacks learned their lesson. So
yes, sir.
Minkah Fitzpatrick is, I think, the best. I think debatably the top 3 safety in the league, and he still has, I think, 3 years of only being paid $3.6 million. So the Steelers have an absolute steal with that, and a lot of young defensive talent.
Yes, sir.
And last thing to mention, you want to tell me what pick we're at in the draft right now? Are you able to?
You guys selected round 2, pick 49, Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I know. But what pick are we at in the draft right now? Like the current draft.
Hold on. The draft is at round 3, pick 34. So
overall,
that's overall 97.
All right. So the Steelers' next selection is 103, but
102.
In the second round of the in the second round of the draft, and the Steelers' first pick, 49th overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected wide receiver Chase Claypool from Notre Dame. At first, I was a little skeptical about this pick. I thought J.K. Dobbins was a potential candidate due to the weak, I think you could say weak running back depth with the Steelers. James Conner's been inconsistent last season when he was healthy. I think interior linemen was a position to look at due to the retirement of Ramon Foster, loss of center guard, a very reliable backup, B.J. Finney, who performed excellently when Marquise Pouncey was suspended for 2 games for putting a savage beating on Myles Garrett after what transpired on Thursday Night Football. Clearly an unforgettable
Event.
moment. But after looking at the numbers on him in college, 150 receptions, over 2,000 receiving yards, 19 touchdowns, and watching this film, he's an excellent vertical red zone threat and is very good at just getting up and grabbing that ball in contested coverage. And I think it's just a great weapon for Big Ben to play with in the red zone. He is 6'4". Steelers like drafting big receivers, kind of like Juju Smith-Schuster, and he ran a 4.42. So
yeah, I think it's definitely a good pick.
I think he's a great talent. I don't know if it's the most necessary position for the Steelers, but I think overall, with a guy like Big Ben, he will find a way to be successful.
Yeah.
So that recaps my thoughts on the Steelers' initial draft. I know they have 5 more picks left from the 3rd and 7th round, or 3rd through the 7th round, excuse me. But I think it'll be a compelling season for the Steelers in that very competitive AFC with 3 Heisman-winning quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Baker Mayfield. And then the big old hefty 38-year-old flying thrower, Big Ben Roethlisberger, 2-time Super Bowl winner, 2004 Rookie of the Year. So
yeah,
lot to look forward to as a Steelers fan with that excellent young defensive core. I wouldn't mind them taking a corner later on in the draft. Steven Nelson's phenomenal. Mike Hilton's phenomenal. Cameron Sutton's phenomenal. Obviously, Joe Hayden is our true number 1 corner, but he is on the plus side of 30, and I don't know how many more elite level years he has left in him. So that's all I have to say about the Steelers personally. So now we can shift to who the Rams took with their 2nd round pick. Obviously, they didn't have a 1st round pick by virtue of trading their next 2 for cornerback Jalen Ramsey, All-Pro. So I'll let Robbie take it from here.
All right, so the Sean McVay era in Los Angeles has definitely been more good than bad. Obviously, with the first year coming in, we go like 11-5, I think, and then the next year 13-3. But last year is definitely an off year with Jared Goff underperforming and also Todd Gurley with his arthritis issues. I was a little upset that we cut Todd Gurley and have all this dead cap, and didn't at least get like something for him. But I mean, it's a hit or miss. Todd Gurley can either perform at an elite level in Atlanta, or he can just be average. But I definitely don't think he has that many years left in him. Also, with the trade of Brandon Cooks, we got a 2nd round pick, which is what we used in this draft. And we also have no 1st round picks because we know the Rams like to spend big money for guys like Jalen Ramsey. So in the first, in round 2, I believe it was like pick 52 or something like that. It was Cam Akers, who's a very solid running back at FSU. I think there was like a lot of Rams fans think J.K. Dobbins might have been the pick here, or maybe a lineman. But honestly, I think this pick is very good because at FSU they had one of the worst O-lines in college football, and Cam Akers still rushed for over 1,100 yards. Also, if you look at his highlights, he's a very good runner who can make something out of nothing. And with the 2nd pick in the 2nd round that we had, we got Von Jefferson, which I'm not too big on because we have a lot of wide receiver talent, even though we lost Brandon Cooks. We still have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, but Von Jefferson is definitely a pro-ready receiver, and I think Josh Reynolds could be the number 3 option, but apparently Les Snead decided to pick up Von Jefferson. So,
well, if there's one thing we know about the Rams, when Sean McVay has his head on right and he's calling the correct, he's just using his head in general and making the good play calls, similar how he did in the 2018 season, which led them
to the
making
Super
the Super Bowl. I think he's good at evaluating talent and utilizing players for their certain skill position. And I remember at the end of the 2018 season when all the coaches that were fired, everyone was looking for the next Sean McVay,
Yeah.
Like how after this season, everyone was looking for the next Kyle Shanahan, the next Kyle Shanahan. So the NFL is a copycat league, and Sean McVay was an innovator of utilizing the talent in front of him. And although the Rams have had a lot of loss of talent, they've also gained some very underrated players I think they could utilize. And even today, there's still some players in free agency I think they could target. I mean, obviously, the two big signings that haven't happened yet are Jadeveon Clowney and Everson Griffin. I don't think either of them the Rams
Yeah.
would be looking for. Everson Griffin's amazing, but I don't think they need a guy like him with just a dominant force like Aaron Donald, who calls 2 or 3 people to himself. But
And also, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
But in general, I think the Rams have done pretty good with the picks they've had available. I know the Cam Akers pick was a little controversial, but I don't know. I think the Rams will.
I think Cam Akers will definitely be a really good running back, and that's just my opinion, obviously. And also with the restructure of Jared Goff's deal, as well as I think they restructured someone else, but they have I think like $3 or $4 million more in cap or something like that. So it's definitely a better situation.
Yeah, and the last topic I want to tap into before we cap out this very I'd say very good first episode of the RnL show. That's the official name for this, the RnL show. Talk about a variety of sports. And I'm sure you'll have an interesting take on this. Is the Philadelphia Eagles selected
Jalen Hurts,
Alabama transfer to Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts in the second round. I want to hear your thoughts on this, and then I'll weigh in.
I personally am a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. I thought your Steelers, maybe they would have taken him if he fell more like people thought. I think he definitely was picked higher than most people thought was, and definitely by not the team. I'm pretty sure anybody thought, but we know Carson Wentz is very injury prone, especially this back, literally made out of paper. Honestly, rips easy. But
Debatable.
I mean, I think if Carson Wentz goes down, which he probably will at some point, Jalen Hurts can come in, ball out. Maybe not become the starter of the Eagles, but he could definitely be a nice trade piece for them.
I am totally against the Philadelphia Eagles making this selection. I think the easy place to start is when you look at the last 6 or 7 games of last year, what Carson Wentz was able to do with Greg Ward, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and his 2 best receivers, and Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson not being available for him, and really utilizing Zach Ertz's amazing tight end, and Dallas Goedert for that matter, behind that big O-line of theirs. I think Carson Wentz was a top 5 quarterback in the last half of the season, and I think the Eagles should have been doing everything they can to build the pieces around him. And I'll reference what are a very entertaining figure in EDP 445. EDP said he needs to give the Howie Roseman in the Philadelphia Eagles front office needs to give Carson Wentz more support with how much he did for them, and especially skill players. They do have that very interesting young rookie Miles Sanders, a halfback, who I think can turn into a star. And other guys prove they can step up. And with the 21st selection of Jalen Reagor, I think that provides a good downfield threat for the excellent deep ball thrower Wentz. And the Jalen Hurts, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think no one drafts a backup quarterback
that high.
Especially after the extension Wentz got, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I heard the people on the NFL broadcast say they could utilize Jalen Hurts like the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton do with Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me due to the fact that Jalen Hurts is a much better passer and just overall thrower of the football than Taysom Hill. And not really that much less athletic. So.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. And I'm gonna stall out for a little bit because the next pick in the draft is the Steelers pick, so you can talk about that. But I want to talk about Terrell Lewis.
I actually have the next pick the Steelers just took. I just
Can I just get?
saw.
Hey, one sec.
Yeah, you can.
Alright. Let me elaborate on Terrell Lewis for 1 second. Terrell Lewis, I think solid, viable option, especially coming out of Alabama. Um, you know, anyone that comes out of Alabama is premier talent, obviously. Like,
For
I
sure.
mean, maybe not NFL premier talent, but definitely have talent. And I think he's a good replacement for Dante Fowler coming off the outside linebacker position. And then, yeah, go ahead, Lucas. Announce the Steelers pick.
So, with what I'm seeing on NFL.com right now, it's not there, but it's all over Twitter. With the third pick, or in the third round, and the 102nd overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers have selected Alex Highsmith, outside linebacker from Charlotte. This is a position I definitely expected the Steelers to address in the draft. Outside linebacker is very weak at depth. Obviously, we have amazing starters in Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt, but Bud Dupree is on his franchise tag this year, and who knows what type of extension he'll command after this year, especially with the fact they still have to pay T.J. Watt plethora of other defensive talent. So I think being able to develop a guy like this, Steelers have obviously had a history of developing linebackers very well. Like, we're talking way back since a guy like Kevin Green. It just in their franchise's blood, and it provides good depth. And they've also they cut Anthony Chickalo, backup outside linebacker, and Tyler Matakevich, the leader in special teams tackles in the NFL, signed a 2-year, $9 deal with the Bills. So Alex Highsmith is a great guy to put behind TJ and Bud, give him some reps at some point in the season for depth purposes, and maybe include him on special teams. So I am much happier with the Steelers making this pick than their prior pick. And he's a good story. He was a walk-on, and so he has that championship mentality and the great work ethic. So
I also think another good pick here might have been Thaddeus Moss, but that might have been.
If I can remind you, Thaddeus Moss, he did not participate at the combine, and he had to get foot surgery. And already with what's going on, communicating with players was not easy. But communicating with an unhealthy player is definitely not as easy. So that's definitely what the mindset behind that is. I do think Thaddeus Moss will go probably in the 5th or 6th round. And there's a lot of hype behind him just because of his name. But
Yeah, just because, yeah.
He definitely showed out at LSU, and I think he's going to be a much more of a receiving threat than a run blocker, but he has room to improve in that. So, with that being said, I think we covered a lot of topics in this episode. I think it was a great first start of this episode. And I just want to thank everyone listening. I know there's not too many of you, but
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for listening, and give us your thoughts on if we had any wrong takes, and we'll debate them in the comments section. Don't even worry about that. So, I'm Lucas Sugarman signing off.
Yeah, Robbie Scheffler. We're out of here.
And thank you for listening to the RnL show. Please hit that like and subscribe and share with all your friends. And that will do it. Have an excellent day.